So in English, we have base words that we use to form other words. For example, if we have the word success, we can easily turn this into succeed, or successful, or successfully. And each of these different forms of the word corresponds to a different part of speech. So if we have success, which is a noun, then we can change it to be succeed, which is a verb, and successful, which is an adjective, and successfully, which is an adverb. So what this means is that by learning one base form of a word, you almost know many other words. You just have to remember how the end of the word changes. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about word forms. So a very common grammar mistake for students learning English is that they use the wrong form of a word, and therefore they use the wrong part of speech. They say something like this: I want to success in my career, but this is a mistake because success is a noun, but we need the verb form, which is succeed. I want to succeed in my career. So this is also why it's important to master word forms so that you can avoid making grammar mistakes. The key to word forms are what are called suffixes. So we create new forms of a word by changing the ending of the word, and those endings we call suffixes. So here are examples, right? We can take real and turn it into reality just by adding ity, that's a suffix. And happy becomes happiness by adding iness, another suffix. And important becomes importance, again by adding a suffix. And quick becomes quickly. So you can learn common suffixes so that you can more easily master word forms, right? So by memorizing these suffixes, you can then learn how to turn a base form into a noun or an adjective or an adverb very easily. So the most common suffixes for nouns, the list that you should learn are as follows: ment, M-E-N-T. For example, development. I-O-N. This is how we go from inform to information, right? So again, all of the suffixes we're going to look at here, these are all to create nouns. So if you see a word that ends in M-E-N-T or I-O-N or the others, you know that it's a noun, right? N-C-E, resistance, difference, ness, happiness, ity, activity, ship, hardship, hood, childhood, age, storage, er or or, teacher, actor, and ist, artist. Again, when you see a word that ends with one of these suffixes, you can be confident that it is a noun. If you want to improve your grammar, then you should check out Arno's AI feedback on your writing and speaking responses. So after you answer a practice question, you will get an instant estimated score and a detailed explanation of the strengths and weaknesses of your response. And then Arno's grammar tutor will identify your grammar mistakes, including word form mistakes, and allow you to fix them so that you can learn from your mistakes. So this is an excellent way to quickly improve your grammar. It's like having a private tutor give you detailed feedback on all of your responses. So to check out how that feedback works for free on 5 of your responses, just head over to goarno.io and create your free account. All right, let's get back to the lesson. Let's now look at suffixes for adjectives. BLE, for example, accessible. OUS, dangerous, full, beautiful, less, hopeless. Why? Cloudy, icy, heroic, ical, historical, ive, creative. And finally, let's look at suffixes for verbs. IZE, or in British English, ISE. Modernize, IFY. Simplify, EN. Weaken. And finally, suffixes for adverbs. LY, slowly. And actually, that's the only one for adverbs. So adverbs are easy to identify because they're almost always formed by adding ly to the adjective, right? So slow is the adjective, slowly is the adverb. So anytime you see a word that ends with ly, it's probably an adverb. It's important to note that many word forms require spelling changes. So this makes them a bit tricky because even if you are familiar with the suffixes, you still have to remember the exact spelling of the full word. So for example, when we turn happy, which is an adjective, into the noun happiness, we have to turn the Y to an I. In possible, we do a similar thing. We add some I's, but we add an I before the L and after the L, right? You simply have to memorize these spelling changes. Responsibility, very similar to possibility. Active, activity. Curious, curiosity, right? We lose the U in curious when we form the noun curiosity. Long becomes length. Sometimes the spelling changes are quite extreme here, as we can see with length. Strong becomes strength, similar thing. Wide becomes width. Deep becomes depth. High becomes height. Hot becomes heat. Decide becomes decision. And argue becomes argument. We lose the E. So these 13 here are the most common words that have spelling changes with word forms. However, there are many others, but this is a good list to start with to learn. Another important topic we need to talk about related to word forms are ing words. And this is because, like with the suffixes we looked at, adding ing to a word allows you to use that word as a noun or an adjective or a verb. All right, and this makes them tricky for people learning English. So it depends on the sentence whether an ing word is a noun or a verb or an adjective. And we have a bunch of lessons that cover all of this in detail. You can find them up here in the corner. So you can check those out if you like. But for the purposes of this lesson, just remember that ing words can be a noun or an adjective or a verb. It depends on the sentence. You may have heard of the term gerund, and all a gerund is when an ing word is used as a noun. Okay? If you haven't heard of a gerund, then don't worry about this. So that you can see even more examples of words that use each of the suffixes that we looked at in this lesson, I put together some more slides with more examples for nouns, for adjectives, for verbs, for adverbs. So you can screenshot those or just go down in the description and you can access a free PDF printout with all of the slides from this lesson, including these slides with more examples. So from here, I would recommend that you check out this other super useful grammar lesson that we have here that's really going to help to raise your score on the DET. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to like and subscribe. That way other people can find it as well. All right, thank you very much. See you in a future lesson.